When it comes to real estate, everything matters. Whether you're a realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title is here to inform, entertain, and inspire you. Host Bill Napick from Stewart Title will talk with guests about what really matters when it comes to owning, buying, and selling real estate. Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title starts right now. Here's your host, Bill Napick.
Welcome to the show, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Yes, once again, another radio adventure. And today we're going to talk about one of my favorite places in Houston. Whether you're listening right here in Houston, you might be in Uptown Houston, the Woodlands, wherever you are, or even in Pennsylvania, because people have their eyes on Houston all over the world and certainly the United States. And one of the beautiful places, centrally located, I call it the center of the Houston universe, that is Uptown Houston. And today we have the Uptown Houston District team right here. They're excited to be here. And we have our first guest is the president, John Breeding. John, welcome back to the show.
Good morning. It's great to be here.
And here we are, Uptown. It's just great.
All right.
First, let's tell people, when we think about Houston, certainly people know the Uptown area, those that have been around for a while, and those that visit our city love it when they see it, right?
All right.
But let's tell people what your organization does.
Well, the Uptown area is an area that has really grown since the late 1970s here in Houston. It is now one of the largest business centers in the United States. It is a wonderfully mixed use. We have not only office buildings, but lots of residential and really are well known for our world famous Galleria shopping center. So retail is very big for us. And it's kind of the one place in town where you have it all. You have a great place to live. You got great entertainment. We have wonderful parks like Memorial Park very near us. And so it is very unique in Houston, yet I think very uniquely Houston.
It really is. And when we think about just since you've been on the show, I don't know how long it's been. It might have been a year. But the thing of all the growth in Houston in all the areas, but in Uptown, you go a month, 2 months. There are so many new things that have cropped up. Right. And great restaurants, so many great things. But give people an idea. When they hear Uptown, they know that. But what your organization does, you almost, you go as far as to be involved in Memorial Park, and we're going to talk about that later in the show as well. But give people an idea what you do, what your organization does. I don't think a lot of people know.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's really a private sector initiative that moved an effort to create an organization that would help deal with the issues that accompanied all the rapid growth that we were having in the Houston area. And so what they did was that they first created a voluntary organization where they all contributed funds to do certain projects. And then as that sort of matured after about 15 years or so, we actually went in and created a special purpose government district. And we now collect tax revenues from the properties that are in the area, and we use those funds to do everything from maintenance and beautification to public safety. We actually enter into major projects, but it's sort of taking all these independent commercial developments that have occurred over the years and creating a sort of overarching community management district, if you will, to sort of help keep it the kind of prestigious area that it's always been.
In fact, it's been a while since I love to visit your office, and your conference room is spectacular, but you also have something to do with traffic management.
Yes.
And when someone goes to your conference room, at least last time I was there, there was an area that, tell us how you're managing the traffic, and it's like you have your eye on the whole area, or your team does.
It's interesting. Years ago, one of the first things the organization did as it came together was try to solve some traffic problems. And that often had off-duty police officers actually out on the street helping get people in and out of garage, helping them get through intersections, et cetera. And that evolved over time. And eventually, we actually have gone in and put in closed-circuit televisions throughout the area. We have the ability to watch traffic and see what needs to happen, and then we coordinate that activity with sometimes officers on the ground so that if there is something wrong with traffic, we can actually change the amount of green time a signal might get. We could call a wrecker to help a car get moved. We've actually deployed some of our police officers to go over and raise the arms on a railroad track where it had come down and the train had long gone, but it had hung. And so we do really what I would call state-of-the-art type of traffic management programs, but also some just feet on the ground, hands on the ground, doing things to try to make life more convenient and the area more accessible by doing what we can to help move traffic.
You're able to respond at the moment, it sounds like, and when needed, and the watchful eyes are out there all the time, especially during rush hour. Yeah. And there's a lot of traffic, no doubt about it, all over the city of Houston, but certainly that area, because of its popularity, where it is as far as coming and going through, yeah, it's good that you're there.
You know, as a great baseball general manager and catcher one time said, nobody goes there anymore. It's just too crowded. Well, that's a little bit about what you see in the Uptown area. We are a very desirable location. Our great challenges are dealing with that desirability of people wanting to be there, people wanting to live in the area, people wanting to come and shop there, to visit in our hotels. So all managing it and making it more convenient is really about what we do every day.
It's unlike any other place in Houston, and we have so many dynamic, exciting places that have rapid growth rates all the time. But Uptown is different than downtown or West University or anywhere else.
Yeah. The one thing that's unique about our area is that it is the mix of uses. Typically, a downtown is noted as the seat of government. It's often a major office center and even performing arts. What we have in the Uptown area is that historically, at its very beginning, it was it was a suburban development about 5 miles outside the core of the city. And that's where some of the really nice areas of the city had been constructed for living. Then we began to see commercial development come into the area, and with that additional commercial development, we saw retail, we saw office, we saw hotels, and now we're even seeing some performing arts of our own. The 80 Players Theater is just has been open for a couple of years, offering wonderful programs, and so it is a part of the city where you can live, work, and play. And in our association with the Memorial Park Conservancy, we really want to make the ability to access all the things in Memorial Park, which is right next to us, literally in our district. We want to make that more convenient. In Houston, if those who are not totally familiar with it, we have the downtown at the sort of historical core of the area, and then the Uptown area is about 5 miles to the west. Those two areas are connected by parks. The brand new Buffalo Bayou Park that was built out to Shepherd, and then we're working closely to really enhance Memorial Park, and there's about a little less than a mile between the two, and everyone is working about how we can connect that. So Houston's two great urban areas, much like you would see in Midtown and Manhattan. This is where the concentration of dense living is located. It's where all the activities are located. And Houston's urban core, of which Uptown is a vital part of that, really is what the growth story in Houston today is all about.
Live, work, and play.
Absolutely.
And have some fun along the way. It is a fun place because I have lived there not all that long ago for 15 years, and it was delightful in so many ways. And just briefly, give people an idea. You mentioned the AD players. As far as geographic boundaries that you watch over in your organization is part of, how far west, how's that look like?
Probably, for those that are familiar in Houston, we are west immediately. Our front door would be the West Loop, Interstate 610 that circles our city. And then we would be on the north side would probably be Woodway. And then down to the south would be West Park. And on the west side, probably Chimney Rock is a reasonable general description.
Because many people wouldn't associate right off the bat Memorial Park with Uptown.
That's
but
interesting.
now that they're listening, they are, and we're going to, as I said, hear more about that. In the year in review, here we are at the end of the year, a few weeks away from 2020. Very, very exciting. Every year is exciting, especially this time. But give people an idea, when you look back from 2019 when we started till now, some of the bullet points and the progress, because so much has been going on there.
I think I continue to be amazed at the continued residential high-density, high-rise development of residential that is occurring in the core of Uptown, but also just across the freeway on the east side. So it'd be very difficult. No one knows exactly where the border is. I would say that our sphere of business influence, we see residential people desire to live in the area. You know, people's decision about where they live is the most critical one they make. They may work in an area of town that may not be perfect. They may visit an area of town that may not be perfect. People are very careful about where they choose to live, what the amenities are, how safe they think it is, how green it is. And so to continue to see that continue to grow with new residential projects like the Spire that's being developed, Hanover projects that have just been opened and are being are very successful. Those are very important. And then I think that we have a big project that we're working on finalizing. That is a reimagining of Post Oak Boulevard. And Post Oak Boulevard is sort of it's just less than 2 miles long in its entire length. But all along there you will find such incredible projects as the Galleria, Williams Tower, and other major developments up and down the corridor, even where your home offices are located, are on the boulevard. That boulevard has been reconstructed with new utilities. We have broadened our sidewalks. We have wonderful pedestrian lighting where it's safe and convenient to walk, throughout the day and evening. Lovely new live oak trees. I mean, believe this, a colonnade of 7 rows of these beautiful live oak trees that have been planted, and then the beautiful flowers and landscaping. I love the idea that we have a very walkable environment in a city that really treasures and serves the car first. I think that the thing that we have done in Uptown is really create perhaps the most walkable environment of any part of the city. And so as that comes along, the transit portion of the reimagining Post Oak Boulevard should be operational at the end of the first quarter of next year. But the biggest change is to see that project come to fruition. It has been a long time in the making. It was not without controversy, as
and
it was
some growth
considered.
pains too. When you have that kind of construction on an already busy street, wow.
Yes. Someone said to me, taking Post Oak Boulevard apart and rebuilding it is something like taking a 747, tearing it apart and keeping it in the air
and still flying,
as you reconstruct it. And that's what we have done. Is that I don't believe that anybody could have done it because we had to work directly with our property owners so closely as we disrupted their world and caused interference into their business. We tried to do that in a way and a manner that allowed the businesses to continue to thrive while we made these significant changes that are going to serve that area for the next 50 years.
And in my mind's eye, and for people out there listening, when you mentioned the 2 Mile Boulevard, I'm picturing, would we start that at Post Oak and Richmond? And then take it 2 miles is that about 2 miles till we hit 610?
That's correct.
And for those that aren't familiar with Houston, if you may be listening somewhere else in another state or something, it is a beautiful boulevard. And as John's describing now, as it has been reimagined and will be complete by the end of the first quarter next year, roughly, it's going to be spectacular, even more so. I liked it years ago.
Something I will tell you, I will show you photographs back in 1985, the late 80s, and we still had wooden poles with wires, electrical wires, crossing the boulevard. I thought the area was beautiful then, but you then see how it has evolved, and it's very much a garden environment. We get more letters about our flowers and everything up and down the boulevard that we do about anything. And so we're very proud of the quality it is, and we think it's a great reflection of what Houston can be. And when people come to Houston, they'll see how enjoyable, how inviting the city can be.
And I'm not going to speak for everybody, but even when I'm at a red light on Post Oak Boulevard, I'm admiring the traffic signals. The architectural elements that are abound in that area are just like no other place in Houston, and probably I'm sure there's some places in the world that have this modernistic and the cleanliness that we have there at Post Oak, but a lot of places do not have that.
We have introduced and built dedicated bus lanes on Post Oak Boulevard that are lined with trees and flowers. And I will tell you that at our stations, which are lovely granite and glass and steel structures, we have roses growing. So, I mean, that's the kind of detail, that's the kind of sensitivity that we try to bring to the table, that things can be functional and beautiful at the same time.
And as you mentioned, next year, the end of the first quarter, the completion should be there. But what other things would you like to tell people about that are ahead that you can talk about in 2020? And I know the thing about your organization, there's things that you can talk about and some you can't because it's so dynamic, and there's so many great things ahead.
Well, I'm going to share some of that, save some of that for later, because really, the very interesting thing is we complete this Post Oak Boulevard project, the West Loop dedicated bus lanes. We're building a transit center, metros. We have like 4 agencies working together to build a total project to improve mobility in the area. As soon as we sort of get that almost completed, we begin another major project whereby we're doing some incredible work with the Memorial Park Conservancy and the Kinder Foundation. That I think will be a signature element of this city for years to come, and I'll let Cara talk about that just in a moment. But I mean, we continue to have significant growth in terms of new residential, office, hotel. I mean, goodness gracious, Tillman Fertitta's new Post Oak Hotel, a 5-star hotel. Absolutely, just something you have to go see and witness, and my goodness, new restaurants throughout the area. And I make it a part of my job to go to those restaurants. It's important that I do that. And
tough job,
and
like
you
said,
yeah. I'm kind of showing some of the bad things about going to all those fine restaurants. But again, my wife and I are fortunate that we live in the area. We are able to walk to dinner. We're able to walk to the grocery store. We're able to literally live a lifestyle that you might visit in Europe, but we get to do it here in Houston. And that's one of the very few places where you can have that kind of urban living.
And before we close this segment, John, anything else you want to tell people?
Well, you know, the big holiday lighting program's coming up.
I love that.
And I have to talk about that. I just want you to know, and you haven't seen this, but with the new reimagined Post Oak Boulevard, we had to think about what are we going to do that would line Post Oak Boulevard, would be the holiday decoration for years to come. What would we do in this newly imagined Post Oak Boulevard? Let me tell you, we have come up with something I think the city is going to fall in love with. And I can't describe it. If I said to you, we are now where we used to have 80 Christmas trees along Post Oak Boulevard.
And they all light up at once. They used to.
Between Westheimer and San Felipe. We now are doing the entire 2 miles of the boulevard. We're not only doing it on each side of the sidewalk, we're also doing it in the median. So there's actually 4 rows of these trees. These trees are what I'd call a new millennium concept of what a tree might look like. They are actually stainless steel, elliptical, spiral helix, and there will be a test later, and I'll ask you to explain each of those words I just said. But what we have are something that are all connected via fiber optics They are computer controlled. We can control every light on every tree, and they can do everything that you can imagine. And we have some very creative and imaginative people that are laying all that out.
If you have not been to the lighting of the Christmas trees and the festivities there at Uptown on Post Oak Boulevard, if you're new to Houston, or if you've been there before, it's going to be bigger, better than ever. And let's tell people the times. It's Thanksgiving Day, right?
Thanksgiving.
The evening it begins?
The evening of Thanksgiving. So after you've eaten your turkey and you need to get out and get some fresh air, come out to the Boulevard. It's a true Houston tradition. People come out. We'll start having music about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We have a stage show that will actually go on for those people around 5 o'clock. We actually have a lot of fun with a Hilton Hotel as guests there decorate their balconies.
That's right.
And so Capital One is our sponsor of that event this year. And honestly, it's just a blast. It's fun to watch it. And then finally, Santa Claus and Miss Claus comes, and working with the children in the area, we light up all the buildings. We light up all the trees, and the new trees are going to be lit up for the first time. And we have an incredible fireworks show that just I think is the best in the city. Let me just say, my kids have done this all their growing up. They think on Thanksgiving fireworks are what you're supposed to do. And so it's a kickoff to the holiday season. This is the 32nd year we've done this. It has grown and grown and grown, and we're excited that the Boulevard is near completion. We're bringing the event back after a 2-year break, and we're ready to kick off this year, the 2019 holiday season, with this grand tradition.
It will be incredible. The website is uptown-houston.com. That's uptown-houston.com. John Breeding is the president. Thank you, John. He's coming back later in the show. Until then, thank you so much. We're coming right back with even more talk about Uptown and Memorial Park. Stay with us, please. Stewart Insurance is proud to sponsor Real Estate Matters. As a Stewart company, we focus on uniting real estate and insurance. Our goal is for all clients to be properly insured. When you are properly insured, you're confident in the insurance decisions you make. Whether it's professional liability or homeowner's insurance, everyone deserves to be confident. We invite you to join the properly insured Stewart Insurance. Connect with us at stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827. That's 866-798-2827. Stewart Insurance, stewartinsurance.com. Here we go. Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. We continue thinking about the great area, the Uptown, the Memorial Park, but now we have Cara Lambright. She is the Chief Operating Officer of the Memorial Park Conservancy. Cara, welcome to the show.
Hi, Bill. I'm so glad to be here today.
And let's tell people the Memorial Park Conservancy. Let's tell them what that is, and then we'll get into some of the details.
Sure. The Memorial Park Conservancy, it is a 501c3 nonprofit that manages Memorial Park on behalf of the city of Houston on a day-to-day basis. So Memorial Park is absolutely a city park, and it's for the people, and we just have the privilege of trying to make it better every day.
When I think about Memorial Park in these many years I've been in Houston, I'm thinking about the amount of people that go there every day, right? They park their cars, they're playing tennis, they're jogging, they're walking, dogs are involved sometimes. It's just a very special place in Houston. And I think people that visit us, many of them go to Memorial Park to exercise, but they certainly go at least to see it. It's a great spot.
Indeed. It gets about 4 million visitors a year. That's right. And actually, the Seymour Lieberman Running Trail, which is the 3-mile circular trail in the heart of the park, often what people most associate with Memorial Park is considered the most popular running trail in the nation.
Let's say that again. The most popular
running trail in the nation. Yes.
It's a big nation, Cara.
Indeed. And you know what? It's a big park. I think so. What a lot of people don't realize is that Memorial Park is 1,500 acres in the heart of Houston. for those of you who have seen all the overhead images of Central Park, right, the big green rectangle,
Sure.
it's 2 times the size of Central Park. And here it is in the heart of the city. Our southern side, we have an urban forest on the south side that is almost 650 contiguous acres of forest. So if you look at all the dynamic things that John Breeding and his team at Uptown are doing, and then you place it right next to an urban forest, what a dynamic opportunity for Houstonians and for anyone who hasn't yet moved here but should.
In fact, and there's many people listening that are on their way in their cars right now, perhaps. But there's so many areas in Houston. But as far as proximity, I mean, people could even be on the far west side, the Energy Corridor. They could pop into Memorial Park, as long as it's not, say, rush hour, with kind of an ease. And then once they're there, have so many things to do after they exercise, take a bike ride or whatever.
Absolutely. I mean, it's serviced, surrounded by a lot of highways and fast commute systems. But what we've found is over 170 zip codes use Memorial Park. It absolutely operates as a regional park. People will drive to it because there's really no experience quite like it, where you can be in the heart of the city and you can go down and be adjacent to a bayou edge, or you can actually watch a train go by that goes all the way up to Illinois, which is what brought World War I soldiers back to train at Camp Logan, which is actually the original Memorial Park. Memorial Park is named Memorial Park in honor of those who served at Camp Logan. So you can encounter history. You can be alone in a great big city. You can hear birds chirp, or you can actually interact with people, right? You can be right there on the running trail. And
many choices.
Isn't that right? Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting what you said about the train. Many Houstonians, people that are listening right now, have gone on Woodway underneath that train track, but I never thought about where that train may go. So it can go to Illinois.
It sure does.
How interesting to be where we are when we go under that track, to know where that train's going. And trains are cool anyway. Nice to have that as an extra element of the park.
That's right. I agree. And it really was kind of the genesis. Memorial Park is very location is based due to that train. When Houston was preparing our own soldiers to enter World War I, we needed a place to train, and what we needed was a way to get people down to Houston. It was one of only 11 World War I training camps in the nation, and to this day, it's the only one that hasn't been paved over. So when you feel irritated by getting stopped by the trains here in Houston, remember that it actually really played a pivotal role in our early history.
And give people an idea what you're doing as far as the CEO of the Memorial Park Conservancy, the kind of things that you're overseeing and that you're involved with when we talk about day-to-day basis.
Well, as Chief Operating Officer, Memorial Park, for context, is about the size of the city of West University. And it has all the same things that maybe a small municipality might have. It has church traffic and school traffic, and it has mischief, and it has joy, and it has children playing and laughing. I had no idea when I began this job the things that I would become fluent in problems that you would have to learn how to solve in a park like this. At 1,500 acres, with honestly a growing staff, right? We're still looking for all the resources that we need to properly give the TLC that the park needs. It is absolutely dynamic. Every single day is filled with something new.
And when you mentioned the annual amount of visitors was
4 million.
How about on a daily or weekly basis? How do we break that down?
Yeah, I think,
because there's a lot.
It's been really hard to track that. We actually have been working with a lot of research institutes to get a better idea. Since Memorial Park doesn't at this moment have defined ingress and egress, it makes counting a little bit difficult. But we have undertaken a number of studies. On an average weekday, where we have about 7,500 people, and then on a peak, beautiful day in springtime, we actually have 12,000 people on a weekend on the Seymour-Lieberman Trail alone.
Unbelievable. In fact, through the years I've been in Houston, as my son, especially when my son was growing up, that was a go-to place where we would meet other cyclists, and we would bike ride. We'd go mountain biking, and then there was also the trail where the road bike guys would be out there. Cyclists love it as well.
Sure.
It's been a part of growing up here for many years.
For sure. You can play croquet. You can there's a cricket league that's been popping up around the park. You can take history walks. You can, soon you're going to be able to look out over a beautiful lake in our upcoming Eastern Glades project, which we've been just ever so grateful for the partnership of the Uptown Tours to be a part of. You name it, you can do it in Memorial Park.
And when we think about this year, 2019, again, the bullet points of things that maybe people haven't been there for a while, maybe they hear this show and they're saying, hey, it's time to get back to Memorial Park and see it again. If we were to track some of the notable things that have happened in 2019, let's tell people what they might be.
Well, I think 2019 has been all about things behind the fence that we're going to be revealing in 2020.
Something to look forward to.
That's right.
I'm getting excited already.
I'm telling you, 2020 is going to be the year at Memorial Park. So our very first project of the Memorial Park Master Plan, which Uptown Tours was our partner in developing, it opens. So Eastern Glades is a 100-acre project that will be opening up in early summer. Take 100 acres for any park, and that's big.
That's a lot.
Right? We are really going to bring something really dynamic to the city of Houston. This was an area that people didn't ever venture into because it was swampy. It didn't have trails. You couldn't park in it. And with the help of our partners at Uptown, who are just fantastic at executing infrastructure, and then with the help of the philanthropic community, we're bringing a cultural beauty that highlights one of the original entrances into Camp Logan. It brings a stormwater management component in the form of a beautiful, beautiful lake with a lakeside terrace and picnic pavilions. So that opens up in summer. Nearly adjacent to that, we're going to be opening up the first phase of a sports complex. So we have multiple ball fields that will be opening up. And then just shortly thereafter, we're going to be breaking ground on the land bridge, which John alluded to briefly earlier in the interview. The land bridge is the hallmark of the master plan. And if you will let me be poetic for a moment,
Please.
It is green conquering gray. So a green park effectively is being put on top of Memorial Drive with an adjacent Texas prairie system. You know, Texas prairies used to cover this area. Now there's only 1% left. Prairies absorb the most amount of rainwater. So here we have this project which will actually be visible on the flight path as you come into Hobby Airport. That not only will be a postcard moment, but it'll actually be highly functional in this increasingly dynamic weather that we're having here in Houston. So imagine when you fly over the Grand Canyon and your pilot says, everyone on the left, look outside the window and you'll see the Grand Canyon. Well, we believe that will happen here in Houston. Everyone look out and look at the land bridge.
I believe people that are visiting Houston, and like I did many years ago, they're going to visit, they're going to be at Memorial Park, at Uptown, and other places, and they're going to say, this may be a place I want to move. We already have a lot of people, I don't know the stats on that, but a lot of people are moving here every day, certainly to Texas, but also to Houston, but they find themselves being attracted by these wonderful things. And I think if people are taking notes like I am, at least mentally, and they see leaders like you at Memorial Park and John with Uptown, the care and detail and precision that you use in your thinking and execution to make these places tremendous, I'm very excited about it, and I think people listening are too. Oh, my goodness. We're on to something.
Bill, I think you're exactly right. You know, we like to say Memorial Park is what makes Houston livable. Young kids these days, you know, when I was growing up at least, you found a job when you graduated from college and then you moved there. And kids these days now are choosing cities, moving there, and then finding the job. And I think Houston's Parks Renaissance, which has been made possible through partnerships like we have with Uptown Houston, are making Houston's one of the hottest places to possibly be.
It really is. And before we close this segment, Cara, what are some of the other things you'd like people to know? And also on the website, let's tell people your website.
Sure, it's www.memorialparkconservancy.org. And I would like people to know, while 2020 is an incredibly dynamic year, there are even more projects to follow. You know, almost 2 years ago now, we closed a $200 million funding deal in partnership with the Kinder Foundation and with the Uptown Tours. And we have many more projects to follow. It is the most dynamic park project that's happening in the United States, and all eyes are on us, and we know how to deliver. So we look forward to hosting people.
You're excited about your job.
Oh, I love my job, absolutely.
And when we talk about the future and these things that will yet be unveiled, one of the things I'm thinking about, we're talking about 2020, maybe 2020 and beyond, but what if we were to, I mean, I don't know what your imagination has, but what about 10, 20 years from now, if we were to look certainly at Memorial Park, what would you be seeing?
You would be seeing a fully executed master plan. And I say that as a park professional with a lot of pride, because I think any business person amongst us has seen a lot of plans that end up getting quite dusty. But ours is incredibly visionary. The landscape architect behind the master plans has also done Hudson Yards, the Flight 93 Memorial. We are going to have a park that is visited just because of its landscape architecture. And you will have history brought to life in a way that hasn't been brought to life in Houston. You will have a healthy, dynamic urban forest that other cities are coming to us to find out how we pulled it off. And we do this with all Houstonians. I think Memorial Park is very personal to Houstonians, and it's really nice to work on a project where everyone, even strangers, are pulling the rope with you in the same direction.
We're talking with Cara Lambright, CEO of Memorial Park Conservancy. You can go to memorialparkconservancy.org. Thank you so much, Cara, for being on the show, and she's going to come back a little bit later. We're going to take a quick break right now and come back with even more. Stay with us. Thank you, Cara.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Cyber criminals are on the offensive. In real estate, the average loss of a wire fraud scheme is $130,000. How do we fight these risks? Establish a good defense. At Stewart Insurance, we believe there are two sides to a formidable defense. Manage the risk, offset the risk with insurance. Concerned if your insurance is offsetting the cyber risk? Contact Stewart Insurance to determine if you are properly insured. Connect with us at stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827, 866-798-2827. Welcome back to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. And now a quick departure from Uptown Houston. We're going to talk to John Bramblett with Stewart Insurance. John, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Bill. Glad to be here.
And it's always enlightening when our guests tell us about new things and all the great things. As we already know, it's a super city, Houston, Texas. I love it. But boy, to hear this stuff, it's incredible.
It really is. I like the description we heard earlier that it's unique to Houston, but uniquely Houston. And I think that's one of those, when folks visit the city and realize how green it is and how friendly it is and how open it is and where you can work and live and have fun in the same proximity, it's a pretty amazing place.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned the word friendly, because when I first got to Houston many decades ago, I think it was 1982. Oh my, that's a long time. But I remembered that very thing right away. People were super friendly. And we still say that now. I'm glad we were able to maintain that in the way we have.
Absolutely. I've been fortunate enough to travel around the country, and I compare cities that I go to how friendly the people are compared to Houston. So if somebody says, what did you think about that city? I said, well, they're as friendly as people from Houston.
It's a barometer indeed.
Absolutely.
And we think about, last week we were talking about cyber crime. It's amazing as we bring forth information to help people all the time, whether they're in the real estate profession or otherwise. But we had our third installment last week of our cyber crime show. People can go to stewart.com/Houston. If they missed it, it's a very important topic right now. Stewart.com/Houston. Check it out. But you were talking about some of the statistics. We don't really talk about that last week, but I think you have some today.
Well, Tom Cronkright was certified, and then our president, Tom Carpentier, did a fantastic job of talking about some of the things you can do to mitigate the risk. And then if you need to offset it, then that's where we would come in from an insurance perspective. But, I still get a little concerned at times that people don't realize, especially in the real estate world, how prevalent the cyber crimes are and how much it can affect their business. And I just wanted to make sure that they had a feel for what that can mean, from a financial perspective. So there's $19 million were diverted or attempted to be diverted from the real estate purchase transactions wired to criminally controlled accounts in fiscal year 2016. $19 million. That amount increased to $969 996 million in fiscal year 2017. So $70,000, $80,000 increase in just one fiscal year. And it was all based around the real estate world. So that's where there's so much transaction that happens, whether it be data or funds, that all ultimately will drive money, that it's really critical that our real estate broker friends and our realtor friends and agents understand what those risks are, and that it truly is out there. It's not just something that people are talking about.
That's right. They're looking to hijack funds, but also the data is also vulnerable, and we have to watch that as well.
Well, it's still compromised email. I mean, that's where it comes from. And so whether it's a business email compromise or an email account compromise, that's what's happening. So somebody's either compromising a buyer or seller's email account, or they're compromising a broker's account or a title agent's account. That's where the issues are taking place. I mean, we've had, almost 11,000 data breaches since 2005. 1.4 billion records have been exposed since 2005. And when you say that exposed, that sounds like a lot, but think about what those records are. It's your name, it's your social security number, it's your financial records, it's your address, it's your driver's license, your medical information. So those are the kinds of things that these cyber criminals are pulling and finding from, and then turning around and using. The fact that it takes a company about 6 months to realize they've even been compromised is a bit scary. So, again, hopefully these numbers will cause somebody to say, hey, I need to make a change, that I need to make sure that we're doing what we can to mitigate those cybercrime, and then what we can't mitigate, we offset.
What I found interesting last week, it sounds like the point of entry for the criminals is your email account. And the other thing that Tom said was very interesting is that not only do they go into the email account, but sometimes they're there for months watching activity, watching your trends. So these cyber criminals, wherever they are, and it's a worldwide type of operation, they're patient.
Absolutely.
They know what they're doing, unfortunately, and sometimes they're successful, but they wait, plot, and then do what they do.
Absolutely. So, we've talked about in the past of, if you're doing a business transaction, do it on a secured Wi-Fi. Don't do it with, sitting at a coffee shop. So, little things like that can happen. Or you see a flash drive dropped in the parking lot, and somebody picks it up and, let me see what it is, and they put it in my machine, and now I'm compromised. So it's just those kinds of things. So it's just, I guess what I want to make sure that people understand is that it's real, and then it's not going away. So you need to, as a real estate broker especially, you need to do something about it.
And people can always reach out to Stewart Insurance for help, and also as far as cyber insurance and some of the other things that you have. And speaking of friendly people, you have some of the most friendly insurance people there that I've ever met.
Absolutely. We have a team of very passionate individuals that truly want to be your partner, and truly want to make sure that our clients are properly insured. So they can reach out to us at 866-798-2827. That's 866-798-2827, or Stewart Insurance at stewart.com. We can talk about how they're currently insured, how they might want to consider what those offsets ought to be. Everything from errors and omissions, which is a bit like a malpractice for a business, to the cyber liability, to a business owner's policy, workers' comp. We can help with all.
And not only that, here in Houston, you can help brokers, people anywhere, but also if you're outside of the city of Houston. In fact, we have some guests coming on, some brokers from Pennsylvania in the next couple weeks. So if you're listening, you hear this on the internet in another state, you want to talk to Stewart Insurance about cyber policies, they can do that wherever they are.
Absolutely. If you're in the real estate world and you want to have an insurance partner that understands real estate, then talk to Stewart Insurance.
They just need to call
866-798-2827. That's 866-798-2827.
That's what I thought you said. Very nice. Thank you, John Bramblett. And we're going to take a quick break and come back and wrap up with Uptown Houston. What else do we need to know about Uptown Houston and Memorial Park? We're going to find out. If you are a real estate professional, please listen closely. Cyber criminals are targeting our industry. They are impersonating real estate professionals, home buyers, sellers, and title agents, and their goal is to gain access to your inboxes, computers, and clients so they can steal information and funds. Does your business insurance offset these risks? Not sure? Contact Stewart Insurance to determine if your real estate business is properly insured. Connect with us at stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827. Welcome back, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Here we are. I'm Bill Nampick, still your host. And now, John Breeding, president of Uptown, and Cara Lambright is here with Memorial Park Conservancy, and we're going to wrap up anything we didn't mention, guys. John, we'll start with you. One thing I want to make sure I ask you is Uptown, in the years that when I first got here to Houston to last year and right now, if we were to turn the clock ahead, just give us your vision in your imagination 30, maybe 50 years from now. What is that Uptown going to be? Because it's incredible now. Next year is going to be even better, but what do you see?
When people ask me this, I always jokingly say, well, I hope I ride my bicycle to the ribbon cutting for whatever. And that would mean that I would be somewhere past the century mark. So maybe I won't be able to see it. But I think there's a very long commitment to quality development, to mixed-use development, to greenness, to cleanliness, and to safety. I think that the future of American cities is what I call an active urban lifestyle. And that means that you will be in an urban environment. You like the ability to be able to walk to the store and pick up something for dinner. You like going out to a restaurant. You like going to a movie theater. But you also like walking in a park and being able to ride your bicycle, be able to go running, perhaps even go rowing. And so I see the whole center city of Houston kind of evolving into this more dense, more urban area that integrates living and working and shopping and exercising and just living, really bringing all of that together. I know it sounds, but if you'll think about maybe a very significant university campus, typically a campus has a lot more green than a traditional downtown would have. And so I see our area as green always being very important, but I also see the density of development always increasing. But I see people coming there to live. We see more and more people walking their pets and pushing their kids on strollers. So we like people who are choosing to live in an urban environment versus living in the burbs and driving into work.
There you go. And when you mentioned history earlier, I want to mention this. It's probably still out there. If people want to see what Uptown, Tanglewood look like, go to YouTube, Google Post Oak, A Texas Legacy. You could see what it was like years ago. You can hear from people, the organization. It is a great little YouTube. Post Oak, A Texas Legacy. Cara, let's tell people, as we're closing out the show, what are some of the other things you want them to know about what you're doing over there at Memorial Park or anything else?
Right. Well, first of all, I really encourage people to go visit our website and do take a look at the master plan. I promise you will get excited. It's absolutely amazing. And then I encourage everyone who's listening to find a way to plug into Memorial Park. Friday of this week, we have our Young Professionals Bridge Bash. It's Glow in the Park. And it is a really dynamic group of young professionals who are out to make change in Houston. We had the Houston Open coming back to Memorial Park, to the heart of the city in 2020. We're thrilled about that. We have a Friends Memorial Park group. We have Urban Wild. Come get involved. We can't wait to see you, and we can't wait to meet you. And
what you said during the break is as you described the vision of the future, they could see that on the website. So there's actually a drawing or some things they can get excited about.
You can actually see a simple bird's eye view if you like to keep things simple for the future Memorial Park, or you can even download the actual master plan and see our step-by-step process. It included over 75 experts. It had 3,500 members of the public that participated in it. We're very, very proud of this plan, and we encourage you to take a look.
Bill, you mentioned, and Cara mentioned the Houston Open returning. Bringing historically, one of the early days of golf in Houston occurred in Memorial Park. Some of the Jimmy DeMeritt and Jackie Burke, some of those legends of PGA golf, and we're seeing through working with the City Parks Department and with the Houston Astros Foundation, actually coming in, rehabilitating, improving, remaking the Memorial Park golf course, and now bringing the Houston Open. And if you can just imagine the blimp shots of this incredible city with its downtown skyline, with Uptown and the areas in between, and then this beautiful 1,500-acre park, and then in the middle of all of that, this beautiful golf course. I think it'll be a grand showcase for Houston.
And your team, this is done. You have a tremendous team. You've had people that have been with you a long time. And just having you on the show wouldn't have been possible. You have two people here today. Delia is doing tremendous work there, Director of Marketing and Communications, not to mention the great Kaylee Garvin. Kaylee, it really helped to set this up with ease. Right, Kaylee? Over there. So you have a great team. That's why you're having too much fun on your job, John. And
and I have to tell you that not only do we have great staff who are doing great work, we have a great board of directors, just like the Memorial Park Conservancy has people who are giving of their time, giving their resources to make Houston a better place to live, and we want to thank them as well.
It is super awesome. Well, with the last minute or so, Cara, what else should we know?
I'll add to John speaking about our terrific board of directors that both of us are able to have, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say one more time how critical the partnership with Uptown Houston has been. We're very lucky to have incredible partners at Memorial Park, from the Kinder Foundation to the City of Houston and its Parks Department, but it was John's vision and the vision of others at that time who realized by annexing Memorial Park that they could really make a difference. And it was the most catalytic moment that this happened, probably since the establishment of the park. And our city is full of visionary and incredible leaders, but this is a very special moment in time in Houston. And we're thrilled that this project can actually kind of be a living, breathing example of that.
And they can go to memorialparkconservancy.org to see some of the future of Memorial Park and so much more there on the website. And, of course, John, your website is?
uptown-houston.com.
That's going to be great. And, Cara, should people be sad that the show is ending at the time of broadcast?
No.
Exactly. You know why? Because it never really ends. People can always go to Stewart.com. In fact, they could go back there, John, and the shows, the couple shows that you were on before, you and the team, they can go back there, Stewart.com/Houston, because it never really ends. It's always out there in the cloud. We have some great things coming up. We're always excited for the team, Uptown Houston Memorial Park Conservancy, to be on the show. We're going to have them back soon, I hope. We also want to say hi to Bob. You know, Bob does great work. Bob Ethington, right?
He's out selling Houston and other parts of the country today.
You know, we all are ambassadors for the city in some way, especially the real estate team, but you guys do a great job as ambassadors for your various organizations. And thank you so much, everybody, for listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Next week, great things are ahead. We even have our senior chief economist, Dr. Ted C. Jones. He's coming up in a couple weeks. We're going to talk about what's ahead for the real estate future, not just here in Houston, economically speaking, but all around the United States. He is the eighth wonder of the real estate world. So much more is ahead. And then, oh yeah, here comes 2020, right, guys? And don't forget, Thursday, Thanksgiving, go to Uptown Houston. You're going to see it's going to be bigger, better than ever, right, John, Cara?
Absolutely.
I'll be there. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Thank you all. And until then, Stewart.com/Houston. 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 We'll see you next week.